In this video, I'm going to show you how I set Blender up anytime I'm going to be doing some modeling for 3D printing. I'm using Blender version 2.74 on a MacBook Pro. The first thing I do is just delete the default objects so we can take a look at the grid here. Each square on the grid represents one Blender unit, and what I want is that each square should represent a centimeter. So the first step is to change the units from Blender units to metric. And you do that in the Scenes tab. And inside the Scenes tab, you change the units from none to metric. And then you find the scale and change the scale from 1 to 0.001. And when you do that, you'll notice that the grid changes. To change that back, what you do is you make sure that your mouse is inside the 3D part of the interface and hit the N key. That will bring up the Properties panel here. And inside the Properties panel, we want to find the Display and click on that to expand it. And then locate the Scale property. And you need to change that from 1 to 0.01. And when you do that, you'll notice that the grid changes back again. So I'm going to create a simple cube just to demonstrate what changes we've made. But first to do that, before I do that, I'm going to give ourselves a bit more screen real estate so you can see a little easier. And to do that, I'm going to hit Shift Space, and what that will do is remove all the menus on the right hand side here, as well as the ones on the bottom. There we go. I'm going to press Shift A to create a cube. Zoom out a little bit. And then I'm going to go into the edit mode by clicking this down here. And once I'm in edit mode, I'm going to select one of the edges. And then I'm going to turn on the length display property. And you find that in the Properties panel here. It's under the Mesh Display, which is usually near the bottom. And inside that, you will find a length checkbox. Click on that box, and you'll see here a measurement has appeared. It's a little small, so I'm just going to zoom in and show it to you. And it's telling me that the edge that I selected earlier is 2 centimeters long, which is exactly what I wanted. Each square on the grid represents 1 centimeter, and the cube is 2 units long, so that's 2 centimeters perfectly. Here I've zoomed out a little bit so you can see the grid in its entirety. It's 16 centimeters by 16 centimeters, which roughly represents the build plate for my printer. Something else I like to do is load in a template for my printer. I've just done that quickly here. I have a Delta style printer which has a round build plate. This helps me keep track of the limitations of my build plate a little easier. What else can we do? Yes, if you need to change the number of lines that appear on your grid, so let's say you have a bigger build plate, you do that here. You just increase the number of lines or decrease it if you want. The last thing we need to do is export this. So you need to select the object that you want to export. In this case, it's just the cube, not the build plate. And then under File, Export, you'll find the STL option. Just click on that. And inside here, there's one checkbox you need to be concerned with, which is the scene units. You need to make sure that this is unchecked. If you leave it checked and you export, the file will be much too small. So here I've unchecked it. Now just make sure that you've named your file, you've decided where you want to save it, and click Export. And that's all. I hope you found this video helpful.